looking for some music to play to start this until it's time. Let's try this one. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 1st of March, 2018. I'm Roy Potter, and this is the live stream version of the Potter Expositor. Thank you for coming. You'll notice that the live chat is turned off right now. I've been talking with some other people who have done this before and noticed the kinds of things that happen. I will turn it on when I'm ready, when we're ready to start communicating. They explained to me, and rightly so, despite the fact I've been doing YouTube for a while, this whole live stream is a little different. And they said, you know, in the chat room, it's a good thing to have, but there are people there that will come in to try to divert the conversation and to take over and to make it so people aren't listening to you. Well, you know, people don't listen to me anyway. But I considered it, and I thought, you know, as a matter of courtesy, to the people that are taking this seriously, I would do that. So I will turn the chat on towards the end of this. That's the first thing I wanted to tell you. And the next is what's changed, right? Well, you know, you got to change up every once in a while. One of the other things that people have been saying quite a bit is, Roy, you really don't need to wear a shirt and tie. Well, I do that to kind of respect you, more or less. But, of course, one of the best people out there as far as giving information is Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, and he usually wears a polo shirt, and it is in a very relaxed atmosphere. So I thought about that, and the map is kind of, you know, it's nice, and you know, we'll use it from time to time, but you know, I kind of wanted to change up a little bit, and like I say, wear this polo shirt. So I'm not going to be able to check and make sure that the sound is okay, but I'm going to guess that it is, okay? All right? Because I am watching the monitor here. So I think it's okay, hopefully so. I tell you what, there is one person out there who can tell me if it is, because she is listening right now. So let me ask her, and she'll know when she gets this. And she can answer me on this. Okay, she's already done it. She said it. That's my daughter. She's already on here, and she listens almost every program. And she's a wonderful lady. I'd like to tell you more about her, but I want to I want to, make sure that her. Oh, and another friend of mine is telling me that it's okay too. So this turns out pretty well. Wouldn't you love to have my phone number? But anyway, okay, so they're telling me that everything looks good. Okay, so also the flag in the background has a little meaning to it. There was some things that happened on Twitter yesterday and on YouTube. As most of you know who listen to me, at least I think you will know, I was on a project up in the Pacific Northwest for over a week, and so I've been kind of out of touch. I did that one live stream on Monday, but I really haven't done much. I haven't even really kept up on things. Well, a little bit. The really important stuff, because everything that happens now is almost, it's ridiculous how common things are now, and we're just... But at any rate, so there was a thing apparently where a YouTuber, a retired Marine by the name of Steve Motley, who I've listened to, but I don't go to him all the time, although, I enjoy what he has to say. But apparently he passed through the Utah area and wanted to meet with me. And of course, I didn't know that. I was in Pacific Northwest, not even looking at my stuff. And then what I got was a message from another Twitter user who said, look at this. And there was some lady on there who was saying that Steve had called me up and wanted to talk and that I refused, which of course never happened. So at any rate, what I've done now is I've gone to Steve on his Twitter account and on his YouTube channel and asked him to DM me. I would more than be honored to meet with him, and we'll have some discussions face to face, and I think that would be great. So the flag in the background is to kind of honor what he does. He puts a flag in the background of his YouTube streams when he's at home and his recordings. And so this is kind of another shout out to him. I'm not really copying him so much as I am. It's kind of like a semaphore. You put up a signal and the other guy puts up a signal. So that's what I'm doing here, in case you wanted to know. So I'm going to be looking forward to discussing things with him. And again, two people will never agree on everything. That's not a reason to go to name calling and accusing people of being traitors and deep staters and things like that. And I don't anticipate that happening. I think we'll both, being, he was a major in the Marine Corps and I was a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and I'm sure we'll have a normal discussion. We probably both, well, I suspect he has worked on general staffs as well and command staffs, and I'm sure he knows how to banter without becoming upset. And the same here, because you need that interaction. You need to be able to discuss those things. If you're just an echo chamber, then you never really find out what the problems are. So anyway, I invite Steve to get a hold of me on my DM on Twitter. That's the best way. I'd say to do it through the YouTube messages, private messages, but I just don't check those. And I get so many, I don't know where it will show up. I mean, he could be on the thread way, way down. I just don't know where it is. So let's keep it on Twitter. Okay, Steve, I hope you hear this. If you don't, I hope your followers send you a message. Maybe if you get enough of them, you'll know how to do that, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Why did I call this 311 and the CDC? Ladies and gentlemen, look, we've had mass shootings on and on and on. We've had bombings and all these things. We've had some powder sent to the Trump family. And also there was an outbreak at a joint base back in Virginia, I believe it was. I got that information from two sources. And apparently some people were hospitalized from that. I don't know all the particulars. I do also know that there were alert flight scrambles on the East Coast that we got from Scott Anthony. And I can tell you also there were alert scrambles on the West Coast, at least in the Portland area. Pretty significant. Now, we saw some things today with Putin saying that his nukes are as good as ours, and there's this saber rattling going on. I guess there were a couple of possible Russian seacraft or submarines or something off the East Coast. I don't know what's exactly going on behind the scenes. And this is going to sound un-American because I don't support the deep state and the military-industrial complex trying to start a war with a country that's been trying to fix itself after what the West did to it in 1917. And as most of you know, the West New York City bankers, London bankers were the ones that financed Lenin and the Russian Revolution, overthrew the Tsar. And they do that. You know, friendly regimes they overthrow, so they have perpetual war and tension. So, you know, the Russians have been trying to pull themselves out of that quagmire that our elites set up. They're not the enemy. You know, yeah, we have to keep an eye on them, of course. You know, I understand that, but we're the aggressors in this by far, and I will just keep saying that. Okay, and that's one of the things I imagine that Steve and I are probably going to have a little difference of opinion on, but that's okay. Let's get it out and let's talk about it. So, at any rate, we're seeing these things happen, and then the attack on conservative sites on YouTube, Twitter, the whole Google thing. And I want to remind everyone, okay, I do this as often as I can. We point fingers at these social media companies, and we say they have a right to, you know, control their platforms. Well, there's some truth to that, okay? Obviously. They should be considered public utilities, right? They should be, but that's been, you know, that's been negated at this point. But the important point I want to make is to remind everyone that these companies were started by the intelligence community, by the CIA. So what you're seeing is CIA censorship and propaganda and persecution, just like they've done in other countries when they've started civil wars. I hope you understand that. Now, my take on this is that Trump signed that executive order in December declaring a national emergency. Technically, the way I see it, he could seize the communications of those companies under that. He probably won't, because there are some other problems. And that might be, you know, too easy of a fix for most people to believe could happen. But seeing as how they're trying to shut down the discourse, probably for a number of reasons. Let's name a few. One, obviously to stop conservatives from communicating and getting their message out, because that has a tendency to red pill people when the evidence is shown to them, obviously. And these leftist Marxists and these social platforms that are run by the leftist Marxists and the CIA want their agenda out there. The second reason is that they don't want us talking about the possibility of incidents, government-sponsored incidents to, first of all, to lie and propagandize Americans, and secondly, to harm them. And we've seen that, okay, that's been going on. And obviously, the agenda is to take down the constitutional republic. So with all of that, you just have to remember that you're not looking at private companies. They're only fronts. They're private companies in name only. They are CIA-controlled, intelligence community-controlled assets. And based upon that information as well, Trump could act. Okay? Because the Senate and, well, the Congress, the combined houses of Congress passed those bills that said that they were going to fund these types of operations against American citizens. Do you remember? Started off with Operation Mockingbird, which was a black operation. Then it moved forward to the NDAA inclusions in 2013, and I think it was 14 and 15, where first of all they said it was illegal for these intelligence community agencies to lie to the American people, propagandize them, use their own tax money to tell them lies. And then they started funding it as well. Now, does the IC need the United States to fund them? No, it's a black eye. It's a spit in your eye type of thing, saying, see what we can do, because they're basically an independent government, and that's why they're acting the way they are, because nobody will stand up to them. And I've called for the military to be used against them a number of times, and nobody wants to take that seriously, even though we hear little rumblings about it here and there. So the point I'm making is that they will continue to do this. I understand they've made some apologies the last few days. No, those are all delaying actions. So the next step, and I've talked to a number of people about this, the next step is a major incident. You notice I'm not using a certain word here, and there's a reason for that, but I think you can read between the lines. There will be a major incident, and it could be any day now. I don't know what it'll be. I'm not going to pretend to know that. There could be a nuclear detonation somewhere to cause a tidal wave of as some people have talked about on the East Coast. I don't know what form it'll take, but you'll remember, and we're going to talk about Monty here again. He's not the only one, Monograph, but he brought it up and he said, there's this 5G thing. There's this diversion of all this stuff that we've been following for so many months to get us off the important things while they do something else. And he predicted that there would be an epidemic of some sort, and that would start off an entirely new stage of the agenda of the deep state and the New World Order. Now, as most of you know, there's a missing CDC doctor, right? And I don't know if you've looked into this, but it's very, very strange. His name is Timothy Gerald Cunningham, and the official narrative is that he was passed over for promotion, and so he's gone. Well, he was a researcher in, Zika. The bad one, though, is Ebola. Yeah. So, and that doesn't mean there aren't other possibilities. Now, this could be any number of things. Do I believe the official narrative? Well, I have no reason really to believe it, okay, because they lie to us so often. This guy could have been, who knows? He could be MK Ultra, to spread a bioweapon. He could have knowledge of the deep state and the CDC preparing for a public release of a bioweapon, and they shut him up. I don't know. But considering that people have been warning about a bioweapons attack combined with the 5G, the nanotech, etc., the immunization policies, the quarantines, and all that would come out of that, and the fact that this guy disappears at this point in time, which I think was about a week ago when he first disappeared, these are not coincidences. And anybody who thinks that those are coincidences are suffering from normalcy bias. Okay, so what am I saying? I think something's imminent. I think people are right. There's been a clampdown on social media communications between conservatives. They're trying to shut us up so we can't pass the messages along. Now, you'll say, well, why don't they just shut down the social justice, the social media, or the net as a whole? Well, because you do things by stealth. It's like, did any of you see Sergeant York, the movie Sergeant York with Gary Cooper? First of all, he was against war, but then he was talked into it using some really nefarious reasons. But at any rate, the point is he goes and he saves an entire American battalion or regiment or something. He sneaks up on the flank of the Germans, and he starts picking them off one by one. They don't even realize their guys are being picked off. Okay, well, that's what's going on here. They don't want the public to know that we're being shut down, because that in itself would be questionable. Some people might laud it, but the more intelligent might say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like when the German soldiers finally realized they were getting shot at, right? Like I say, I look at things in military terms. Now, there are other examples I could use, but that's what they're doing. It's like hunting turkey. You shoot the last one, then you shoot the next one, then the next one. You don't shoot the first one in the line. You don't do that. That'll make them scatter. Do you understand? Okay. Interesting, huh? Next piece of information I'd like to talk about, and it kind of ties in the school shooting and the Second Amendment arguments that are going on right now. I want to bring up the fact that Trump has, in my estimation, and again, people say, why don't you support Trump? I do. But you have to open your eyes and see that there are problems here. And we're going to talk about a lot of those today. This one being the first one. He's talking about due process post-seizure of things, of weapons from people. He's talking about raising the age, right? Well, if he's going to raise the age that you can own weapons, then by logic, by reason, and by humanity, he should be raising the age of the draft, right? And other things, okay? These types of knee-jerk reactions are deep state motivated. I don't like what's happening here, and I'm not the only one. Laura Ingraham actually came out and said that if Trump does this, does a dive on the Second Amendment, he will not be elected in 2020. Where do you think that's going to put us? Do you know anybody else that could do this? If Trump doesn't, and you're not going to like me saying this, but we haven't been told the truth about Las Vegas. And how many times have I said that? We have not been told the truth about this shooting in Florida. We haven't been told the truth about the Texas shootout. And so many other things. He can't play this game. People will say, oh, he's closed in. They're not giving him the information. He's not getting all the information. Okay, I'll give that to you. Let's say he isn't getting all the information. Then the next question is why? What if he does know and he doesn't want to tell us? That's the other extreme. For whatever reason. And I'm not going to buy, for the protection of the American people. We're being killed. We're being fooled. We're being lied to. Really? We're being set up for a civil war and for a world war. And he's afraid that we'll get upset. Do you see where I'm going with this? Whether he knows or he does not know, we have a problem. Right? You can't argue it. If he doesn't know, why not? We have a problem. If he does know and he's hiding it, we really have a problem. I want to read another thing that I got here. I'm crossing off things as I talk so I don't forget. All right. I have a very good friend. I've never met him, but we've discussed things on Twitter quite a bit, and a lot of you who are on Twitter will know who this is. Let me start off with a tweet from Craig Sawyer. Okay? Because I'm getting tired. I shouldn't react like this. I should just let it go. But I'm getting tired of being called a deep state or a traitor. I don't support Trump. I don't do this. I don't do that. We got where we are because of personality worship, because of the cult of personality rather than principle. Okay? So, I really don't care what a lot of people said. I know a lot of you agree with me. I realize that. I'm talking to the people that seem to think that, Trump can do no wrong. And unfortunately, the only person I knew that that could do that is God Himself. But be that as it may, which is why we have a constitutional republic, because the people are the last word, and we've gotten away from that. And I thought the whole purpose of what Trump was supposed to do here is to help restore that republic. Can't do it when he's allowing the First Amendment to be trampled, which he is, and the Second, and the Fourth, and the Fifth even, because of the way, remember Comey said we have a right to even look into your thoughts. I don't know if you remember him saying that, but he did. Okay, well, let me read you what Craig Sawyer said, and then this Twitter friend of mine's response. Craig Sawyer says this, and I'm quoting it here so you can see it. Okay, it's right there. He says, the fact that Hillary is still at large is a daily humiliation to the American people in the form of flagrant corruption and refusal of our justice system, read Trump to Sessions all the way down, to prosecute even the most egregious cases of high treason. Matt Bracken will say the same thing. I say the same thing. And I'm nowhere in the same category as Craig Sawyer, okay? But I see it. I understand what he's saying. Reading between the lines here, he's calling out Trump. Trump can blame it on Sessions like he did the other day. I don't know if you heard this, but Trump lashed out at Sessions. I know, I entertain the possibility that Sessions was keeping a low profile and working behind the scenes. I kept that for a long time. A lot of people were talking about that I respect. The same with Mueller, that Mueller was actually working for Trump to expose the crimes of Hillary, and that then they're going to dump all this in a special way that the American people will be able to accept it. Well, I no longer follow that line of thinking for a lot of reasons. And I don't think Craig Sawyer does either. Only a very small minority of people, great researchers, I'm not throwing I'm not meaning to throw any of them under the bus because, I consider it, which kind of shows my open-mindedness. I'm willing to discuss these things because they have to be. But I think the evidence now is showing that neither Sessions nor Mueller are in Trump's court. There have been no prosecutions, even of the lower stratus. And they could have thrown us a bone to show that they're going to do something, and they have not done so. And Craig Sawyer says it here. Refusal of our justice system to prosecute even the most egregious cases of high treason. Now let me read you what my friend wrote, okay? For those of you on Twitter, and I think he might have a YouTube channel, I really don't know. He goes by the handle Tom Payne, and a number of people use this, but his actual is at Real Common Sense, okay? In case you want to know. And this is what he says. As usual, Sawman is right on. POTUS wants to take on the NRA? How about doing your job, POTUS, and put Hillary cabal in Gitmo? Then the massacre of our children and citizens will stop. The NRA Second Amendment is not the problem. Cowardly politicians are. Right on. Absolutely. He's going against his campaign promises. He's buckling to the deep state. He's going along with the intelligence community, which is your worst domestic enemy. He's going to go after good citizens and inhibit their right, their ability to exercise their God-given, constitutionally protected rights, while Hillary is walking around free, Podesta, Clapper, Comey, and we could go on down the list. We've got a problem, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how you look at it. So what do we do? That's always the next answer, right? What do we do? Well, they're trying to shut us down so that we're not loud anymore, so they can say, you know, kind of like the Las Vegas shooting, right? Remember how the FBI handled this? They kind of suppressed the information. They took people's phones and scrubbed the information so they couldn't share it, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently, some very significant witnesses just happened to end up murdered, dead, whatever, right? People that could expose it. What did the FBI say? Do you remember? They said, well, there's not enough public interest. You remember that? And they've said that similar things in other investigations. So the idea is they shut down our ability to be loud. We have to find out other ways to do it. I have a very dear friend who calls the White House on a frequent basis, and she, you know, I'm sure she's making somewhat of an impact, and I would encourage everyone else to do the same thing. But do you really think that President Trump, she tells me that the operator, the taker, the information taker, says that he does read some of these things. Well, then why is he acting the way he is? Okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse. We'll leave that one alone. I will say that I no longer, again, I'm going to say it publicly, I no longer consider the idea that Sessions and Mueller are secretly on Trump's team and just playing a game. I don't believe that anymore. Okay, at some point in time, this has to happen where prosecutions start, and they're not. And Trump is to blame for this as well. I don't care if he does publicly, you know, come on to Sessions. He has other options available to him. The Republic and the Constitution are what matter, not his political friends. Threats against his family. Oh, somebody made a comment. Well, Roy, you're being pretty stupid because, you know, the Congress is to blame, not Trump. Hey, if anybody has listened to me for any length of time, you know that I don't trust the combined houses of Congress, the Senate or the House of Representatives. They're bought and paid for by lobbyists, corporate interests, and most of all, the intelligence community. I know that. So what does Trump do? Does he just go along with it because he's got this political problem? Look, ladies and gentlemen, the country's gone no matter what we do at this point. It's gone. I'd rather go down fighting the evil than to bow down to it, to get down on my knees and ask for another day of breath. And that's what we're doing here. If Trump's saying, well, he can't do this because it'll be too much of a shock to the American people. Well, it's going to be a real shock when they start killing people and throwing them in prison wholesale, the deep state, which is really what they want to do. So something has to be done. And you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. And you know, when you have a cancer, you have to go in and you have to do something about it. I'm not saying I like traditional cancer treatment. This is a euphemism, okay? You got to cut the cancer out. You can't pussyfoot around. And oh, the courts are the problem. The courts are the problem. He has a way around that. As of right now, he has a way around that. It's time to act. It was time to act a long time ago. And I said this months ago. If he continues to waffle like he's doing, more people are going to be hurt and killed by the cabal. And I hope you understand that we're seeing that. And this next wave, if it is a biological release, I don't know where it'll happen. I don't know how they'll do it. We've seen some small little beta tests with the Trump family itself, which I kind of wonder about now, but at any rate, and this thing on the East Coast at this joint base, I forget the name of it, it's in Virginia. And this CDC doctor missing, it's all set up for a real nice incident. And because Trump will not take on this cabal face front, Americans are going to suffer. I don't care about the economy. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the stock market. If you don't have liberty, prosperity is not going to matter because they're going to take it from you anyway. Right? Boy, I sure beat a dead horse, don't I? Okay, we've talked about the web purge and how that's going on. It's very serious. Any day, a lot of us consider that our channels will be shut down. And again, I don't care. You know, it's like I said on Monday in my live stream. I'll just consider that to be the moment that God says, you've done everything you can do. You know, you've made an acceptable sacrifice. It's in my hands. Don't worry about it. And that's exactly how I'll look at it. Okay, I kind of miss visiting with people. You know, this kind of grows on you after a while. These live streams in particular, because you can interact and you know you're dealing with people right now, and it's kind of humbling and it's kind of exciting. It kind of reminds me of when I was on some of these major talk shows back in the '80s, and you know you're dealing with millions of people right there. It's a little frightening, but you know it's kind of fun too to realize that you're doing that. And that opportunity exists. So I kind of miss it in one regard, but it's not like, you know, I can't wait to do it. You know, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Okay, I've already talked about Steve on my list here. I've talked about the purge going on, that it's actually the IC, the CIA that's running these social media companies that claim that they have their corporate rights to censor you. We've already talked about that. Back on Steve Motley. This I probably ought to bring up. There was somebody who posted some information about me being BFF with a guy up in Canada by the name of Rock Tirio. That was his name anyway. I don't think he gave the name, or these people gave the name. And the way I've responded to that is that Jesus himself was accused of having or keeping company with, you know, prostitutes, sinners, publicans and sinners, and those kinds of things. And his response to them was, the well don't need a physician, the sick do. So that's the first thing I would say about it. Guilt by association is a false premise. If that were the case, nobody would be safe, right? The other situation is that I was, just so you all know, and the reason why I bring this up is because this all happened at the same time, apparently, that Steve was trying to talk to me, and then this one lady said that I had refused his call to meet with him, and somehow tied in this thing with Rock Tirio in Canada being the Canadian Charles Manson, which is totally ridiculous. that wasn't the case at all. He did have some problems, and I was involved in it primarily because I was very good friends with a state psychiatrist. I mean, a guy who was the state psychiatrist in at least 2 states, maybe 3. He was that good. And Rockterio was a case study of his, and that's how I was introduced to rock. And I'm not going to go into a lot of depth here. There's no doubt that rock was persecuted. Some of the claims made by the state and by their supposed informants, I'm sure, were orchestrated by the state because of some things he was saying. But he did do some crazy stuff too. And I was very closely involved with a lot of that because of what this psychiatrist was doing. I actually helped to type the notes on the case study. So I knew a lot about it. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. And these are the types of pieces of information that when people find out about, they twist to make it sound bad. Well, first of all, I reject that because I will choose to be with whom I choose to be with. That's my business. And, those people that are doing that, they look into it and they say, well, you're known by the company you keep. Well, you better look in the mirror, okay? Because the kind of things you're doing prove that you are something other than what you think you are. All right? Okay, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I just wanted to bring that up because, like so many other things, I've had a very interesting life. I've had a lot of contacts with a lot of things across a lot of the spectrum. That's probably why I look at things differently than most people, or maybe I should rephrase that and say that's why I look at things the way many of you do, because you've had your eyes opened at some point in time, and you've acted accordingly. Well, the same with me. Okay, these experiences have shown me a lot. For instance, and I've said this before, there's a difference between being wicked and being evil. Wickedness is not good, but it's not evil, not in and of itself. Little things like that you find out about. Okay, all righty. We talked about the military activity on the east and west coast, very significant, and they all happened at about the same time, so something was up. They want to start a war with Russia and North Korea, and Putin came out and said any attack on Russia's allies is an attack on Russia, and everybody goes, boo, boo. Hey, don't we say the same thing? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, is the old saying, right? Boy, showing my age here. But it's true. It's like the Russian meddling. We're all, the deep state and all these leftist Marxists are saying how terrible it is that Russia interfered in our election. Well, gee, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Why were we interfering in the Ukrainian election? Why did we interfere in the Iranian thing back when Mossadegh was the popularly elected leader and the CIA overthrew him and installed the Shah? And this is what makes the United States a hypocrite as a nation. And if you don't look at it that way, if you got this idea that my country right or wrong, I'll say it, you're a hypocrite. You can't accuse somebody else of doing that you do yourself. I know, it's old national, it's state fair, it's all of that business, diplomacy and all that. It's disgusting. It's despicable. And if we continue to engage in it, we will be destroyed. Well, we already have been, actually. And at this point, I'm not so sure that we can turn the tide, especially with them trying to shut down the awakening. They won't get everybody. A lot of people will still understand what's happened, and I think God will step in for those who have accepted His law and His principles in their hearts and minds. I'm not saying all of us won't. There won't be some of us that don't suffer, but at the same time, I think that there's a plan in place to deal with this. At least I hope so. A pretty good idea, I'd say. Okay. And the last thing I guess I'll talk about, and then I'll turn the chat on. Not saying that I'll be able to see it, although I did bring my glasses this time. I have a good friend in the Republican Party who keeps his ear and eyes his eyes on the horizon, his ears on the ground. And this kind of goes along with a thing that Sharon Tobe on Twitter sent me about a month ago now. I did a special broadcast about it where people who had been Democrats and switched over to Republicans, the Republican ticket, and voted for Trump in the states need to go in and re-register as Republicans because the political machinery of the Democrats is working to get those numbers so they can redistrict in favor of the Democrats. All this is hogwash as far as I'm concerned. I hate the way this happens, but at any rate, it'll of course affect the Electoral College. And so what she said was that people who switched and voted for Trump need to go and re-register from the Democratic ticket to the Republican ticket to prevent these redistricting efforts, which would probably still happen anyway. She lived in Texas and was saying it hadn't happened there, but they were worried about it. But this was something going on in Pennsylvania at the time, I believe. Well, a similar situation, somewhat different. Well, it is different, but it kind of goes along with the efforts of these Marxist leftist Marxists that the Democratic Party has become. And it's about Dianne Feinstein. Now, I don't like Dianne Feinstein, okay? This Republican has some respect for her because he you know, she is in his state. You know, he lives in California. So he knows a lot more about some of the intricate details of this than I do. But the point is that there is a challenger to Dianne Feinstein by the name of Kevin De Leon, who is apparently way, way, way far left. Now, the news is saying that he's not really doing that well, that the Democratic apparatus in California is not all that much behind him. But my Republican friend thinks that might be a diversion, a kind of like a guerrilla movement. And this is the case. What am I getting to? What I'm getting to is that the Democratic apparatus thinks that Dianne Feinstein is too conservative. Do you realize how significant of a problem this is of what we're facing? If Dianne Feinstein is considered not far enough left, what are they looking at? Do you see the ramifications of this? No, I don't want to have a conflict in our country based upon political ideology. I don't want that. But unfortunately, the political ideology isn't about dialogue anymore. It's about destroying your life. It's about removing the Bill of Rights. Not that you won't still have rights, because God gives you those. But the government protections, the constitutional protections of those rights are going to be taken away wholesale. Free speech is under attack. We're even seeing that, where people are calling for the repeal of not just the Second Amendment, but the First. Big people are calling for this. This is serious. This is the next stage of the war in heaven. This is the war in heaven redivivus. Just as I've said, it's a big divide. You know, you can say, well, there's no God. Oh, well, whatever. But there is a divide going on. And where your heart and mind goes, you're going to be given all the information to make, all of us are given the information to make a choice. And in one way or another, we're going to be judged for the choice we make. And there's no getting away from it. You're going to be forced to make it. Some of us have already made it. Some of us will never make it. And then there's that group of the bell curve I've talked about, that, you know, the hearts and minds war that's going on. God's speaking to everybody right now. The truth is being laid bare, despite the fact that Trump won't talk about it. All right? And he doesn't. Again, LV, the Las Vegas situation, this latest shooting, etc., etc. Okay? But God's speaking to us. Some of us will have, you know, cognitive dissonance and ignore it. It's time to make a decision, folks. We're there. So, with that, I just wanted to bring up the situation with Dianne Feinstein. I actually told him I'd do that. And he's going to give me some other information that I'll be able to cover similarly in the future. And the importance here, of course, is to show you how far the Democrats have gone and how far they're willing to go. They will be the party of Bill Ayers and the Weather Underground if they aren't already. That's how serious it is. It's not just ideology anymore. It's about the willingness to murder for that political ideology. And that's gone too far. That is a state of war. Okay? All right, so I'm done there. I don't think I have much more I want to say. Let me see if I can turn the chat on for you guys now. Again, the reason why I did that was because I've been told that that interferes with what I'm trying to say, but I don't want you to think that I want to shut you down completely. So here we go. The chat should be turned on as I speak. Okay, so if you want to start putting some stuff in chat there, feel free to do it. Hopefully I did this right. Let's take a look and make sure I did. Yeah, it says it's on now. I don't see any posts, but maybe it takes a minute for it to catch up. Okay, all right. So it's on. There you are. I see you. Yes, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Okay, yeah, if y'all check it now, I'm seeing the chat come on now, so it just takes a while. You know, it's a delay. My live streaming from my live stream software is actually delayed by YouTube for, it looks like about 15 to 20 seconds, maybe a little longer. But it is up and running now, so you can go ahead and make your comments if you like. I can't guarantee I'll be able to see what they are or answer them, but I'll do the best I can. Let's take a look here. Okay. All right. Yeah, chat's up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's a good one. My thoughts on the IG report coming out soon. Well, even Trump said it's been delayed, which is another reason why he was upset at Sessions, because Sessions is saying that he trusts the IG. Wow, you know, this goes back and forth. Holder shut down the IG Horowitz. And Horowitz had to go to Congress and say, hey, I need additional, you know, authorization to do my job. Well, now Sessions is saying that he doesn't trust the IG. But Sessions isn't doing anything. And then Trump calls him out. So the IG report is late. My understanding is that it should be out already, and it's not. So the next question is, why not? Has somebody gotten to Horowitz, or was this another delay tactic to make us all think that things are being done behind the scenes as they wrap up the bio attack, the 5G, the nanotech, you know, all of that? Is that really what was going on? Is that why the IG has been, you know, delayed or has been used as a delaying tactic? Do I think he could uncover a lot of information? Absolutely. But we still haven't seen it. And as Craig Sawyer said at the beginning, there are no prosecutions. And I don't care what the circumstances are, that's inexcusable. Inexcusable, even on Trump's part, it's inexcusable. So I don't know. All I know is that it's been delayed, and that's another troubling item. Very, very troubling. Okay, look. Benjamin Carter. If Trump is being held new hostage for any indictments, what do you want him to do? They're going to do it anyway, Benjamin. Do you understand that? Call their bluff. They're going to do it anyway. Pussyfooting around now is not the answer to these people. There's one thing they understand, and it's force. They don't understand anything else. It's beyond waiting and letting them do as they please, letting them choose the time and the place. No. I got hot on that one because I'm sick and tired of hearing that. We've been going through this for how long? He has the entire United States military at his disposal. What's he using it for? To surround Russia? Does that make any sense? We haven't even gotten our own homeland fixed yet and taken care of the traitors and the enemies here. And we're trying to start a war there. He's letting the IC and the deep state do this to Russia. No. What I want him to do is act. So does Craig Sawyer. So does Matt Bracken. And anybody else who understands the nuances of all of this. Open your eyes and see, okay? They're going to kill you anyway. They have to be taken out, and they have to be taken out immediately. Every day they delay, there'll be another shooting. There'll be another chem release. There'll be another war start somewhere. There will be patriots like the Bundys mistreated by agencies. We can't wait any longer. He must act, or at the very least, go public and say, look, this has happened. Your country has been taken over by people that are inside the country. Our greatest enemy that could destroy us is from inside, which is what Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, all those founding fathers said. They've taken over, and I'm here to warn you. I can't stop it, but you need to know what's happening. He kind of was doing that during the campaign. He needs to take it to the next step. And every day he refuses to do that under whatever excuse makes it that much harder for us to reclaim our birthrights. So no, I do not accept that argument any longer. No. All right. I'm not so sure he was a troll, Lizette. I understand. There are a lot of good people that say that. Oh no, I'm forgetting his name. Oh gee, I can't believe I did this. He's got his own news channel. Bill, white hair, you know, the big eyebrows like this. He's always smiling. Somebody knows his name. It's escaping. Bill something. You know, he's a Trumper no matter what happens, and that's a bad position to be in. That's as much as your head in the sand as these other people who don't acknowledge anything else. So somebody's got to know his name. Bill something or other, white hair, always smiling. I don't know why I've forgotten his name. Bill Mitchell. Bill Mitchell, I think, is his name. I don't dislike Bill. I just think that, you know, he's a salve on a wound that is mortal. You know, it's a mortal wound, and he's trying to fix it with salve, and that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yeah, Mitchell. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. Solutions. The solutions are, as I've already said it, we can't pussyfoot around anymore. We have to accept the fact that we are in the situation we're in. We have to understand we're in an awful situation. We have to realize that we are in this awful situation, and we have to deal with it. They're out to kill you. You know about the Georgia Guidestones, right? And that's the optimistic figure. I think they're going to get rid of a lot more people than that, or at least they want to. See, people say, well, God will save us. God will save us. Well, in the end, that's true. But that does not absolve you of the responsibility to do all you can do to do the right thing. If you sit on the fence and think God's going to do it, you're not following Jesus' example, right? I hear all these Christians say, oh, do what Jesus did, do what Jesus did. And then they say, well, he'll take care of everything. Am I hard on Christians? Yeah, like I'm hard on Trump, because I see a lot of problems in their dogma, and that's what it is. It's dogma. Some lady said that I was blaspheming Jesus. Well, first of all, that's not his real name. But yeah, well, whatever. I won't go there. But you know, I don't talk about a lot of things because I just, it's not fair to most people, because, you know, like the scripture says, you know, you can't feed meat to those who are still, you know, drinking milk. But I'll tell you what happens. The people that are drinking the milk are the ones that always, you know, want to put you down and to call you names and to call you a blasphemer and all that. It's the milk drinkers that are doing that. The people that understand the deeper truths don't engage in those types of things. But you milk drinkers do. So I'll call you out. You're milk drinkers. You don't understand the meat. You don't have the greater understanding of the parables. You don't. Am I mad at you for it? No. I'm mad at you for acting like you think you know everything and you're ready to pass judgment on others. Judge with that judgment that you will be judged with. Right? Look, I could do scripture stuff all day. No matter what you throw at me, I've done this long enough that I can retort it. And a lot of people have said, you know, Roy, you really ought to go there. You ought to be a spiritual teacher. I'm not so sure that I want to assume that much. But I will say this, and it's going to piss off a lot of people, but I'm going to say it, okay? If you loved me, you would love the Father. And if you love the Father, you will love me. Pretty bold statement, isn't it? I quoted a scripture the other day, but I only quoted part of it. I'll quote the rest of it now. Let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, that he, finding himself in the form of God, thought it not robbery to make himself equal to God. Christ is the heir to all that the Father has, and you are joint heirs with him. The Spirit of Christ is the spirit of prophecy. And I will say that to deny prophecy is to deny Jesus. Enough of that. People still want to know about my background. No. That was an 80s thing. I understand the Hebrew. I understand I'm going to call it esoteric understanding of the scriptures as far as marriage is concerned. I will not condemn polygamy. I won't. But I will say I can't do it. I'm probably the worst example of it in the world. No, it's too hard. I haven't been involved in that for decades now. Not really. I could give you the details of it, but it's just not worth it. And even if I was, even if I were, I guess that should be what I was. Would that change what I tell you? I know people that have 3 or 4 mates out of wedlock. Under the legal system, that's all I was doing. But I took responsibility for it. I acknowledged it. Okay? So I wasn't a hypocrite. I didn't run around behind the scenes cheating on my spouse or my other girlfriends, okay? I didn't do that. So you call it what it is, or what you think it is. That's a semantic problem, okay? No. I knew what the scripture said about honor, and I tried to handle it that way. But I didn't do it very well. I wasn't successful. And would I ever want to do that again? No. No. Absolutely not. No. It was a trial like you have no idea. And all these people that are out there, I love it. I saw it the other day. I was actually going to tweet it out. Somebody had found my interview on the Phil Donahue show and had posted it, trying to demean my name, of course. But I love it. I was actually trying to find that. I have it on a videotape somewhere. But I guess they got it off the web, I suspect. I don't know where they got it. But I was really happy to see it. Of course, they were trying to defame me, character assassinate me. But I kind of thought it was cool, and I was going to actually repost it. But then I thought, well, no sense in keeping that fire going unnecessarily. But I was actually on Donahue twice at a lot of other things. I mean, but I don't want to go there. Just the point is that doesn't embarrass me. It's not going to upset me. If those types of things get people off the subjects that I discuss and about the awful situation that we are in, and showing the truth about what's going on, or at least trying to. I mean, I'm not 100% right. If they're going to be veered off of this discussion by those types of things, why would you give any credence to somebody like Petraeus, who did engage in fraud, or John F. Kennedy, who had his mistress, Marilyn Monroe, and probably some others. Or George Bush and his homosexual gay parties in the White House, or Barry Obama, Sotero, whatever the hell his name is, at the University of Chicago and in Indonesia. When these people engage in these attacks, they didn't walk a mile in my shoes. They have no idea what was in my heart or mind. They just want to accuse. Again, that's the definition of a satanic demon. Better be careful what you're doing, because that kind of stuff is going to come back on you. Sex addiction. You're way off. You are so far off, it's not even funny. So, okay, I'm done with you. I'd block you if I could. Okay? Sex is a God-given gift. And it can be abused, absolutely. But you're not in a position to judge that. Whoever that was. You have no idea. Okay. Leave the past in the past. You're okay. Who said that? Who said that? Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to get off that stuff, because the only reason why I address it is because it kind of came up during this whole Steve Motley thing as well. A lot of stuff came out there, and a lot of people were saying, well, why are you addressing this and why are you addressing that? Well, it was all thrown into the Steve Motley request to meet with me, and as I said, I'm looking forward to that. I think he and I are going to have a good time. We're going to enjoy each other. I'm certain of that. Okay. About the March 26th, the end of the petrodollar, I don't know. There have been a lot of things to divert us from what's happening, and right now I'm worried over the next week or so. I'm going to keep a real close eye, and you should too. And what is it I always say? Prep, pray, and stay out of the way. Yeah. Make sure you're doing that, because I don't know what's coming down the pipe, but all the signs are pointing to something really bad. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. The shutting down of the conservative voices on the social websites and on the internet as a whole. The censorship that's going on. The uptick in incidents that are occurring. The disappearance of the CDC doctor. The stand-up of the different militaries in the world. The people, as I said many years ago, and as I say often, the powers that be, the cabal, would just as soon destroy everything on earth as to lose power. And if you don't believe that, you're naive. Because they hate the mere fact that they're in the form of God. They hate the fact that they're men and women. Why do you think the transgender thing is going on and all this? They're trying to destroy what God created, that He pronounced as being good. Oh, that's just biblical, Roy. You've been socialized into that. No, I learned it by experience. Okay? By experience. Okay. A lot of you folks are so good. I appreciate the fact that you see that, I try to do the right thing. And then I admit that I don't always do the right thing, but I want to. It's the deepest desire of my heart. Okay, we've been going for quite a while here. Let me see what the time is. Alex Jones comes on in a few minutes, and I know some of you don't want to miss that. Hopefully I didn't irritate anybody. That's just kind of funny. Yeah, we've been going for quite some time here. So maybe it's time to wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, we've been doing this for over an hour. It's going on an hour and approaching an hour and 6 minutes now. Thank you for coming. I hope you found some of that interesting. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground, and we will cover some other topics again soon, I'm sure, as soon as I get information from this Republican insider. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever talked to. He's probably listening. And I'll tell you what, he'll always give me this encouragement, whether it be dating or my efforts on YouTube or whatever. He'll always have this encouragement, and then he gives me a few breaks here and there. And break, I mean BRAKES, breaks like slowing me down, making me look at things in a slightly different way. So I really appreciate him. Again, even though we don't always agree on things, you can't just dismiss an intelligent person like this. He's a very intelligent man. And so it's really a lot of fun. But, after he does these things where he tries to give me these accolades, even after he's kind of, kicked me in the butt, I'll say to him that he's a damned eternal optimist. Because he always thinks it's going to turn out the right way. Just give it a little more time, it'll work out. It'll work out. So I'll have some information that he's going to give me a little outline of some other things that he thinks I should cover. And I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability, and I think it'll be slightly different than what we usually talk about. We're always talking about the gloom and doom stuff, but we're going to try to talk about the basics and how these things are working and the benefits as well as the detriments, and I think that'll be good. Plus, I said a long time ago I wanted to start concentrating more on the spiritual side. And as I said a few minutes ago, there's some that have said that that's all I should do. But, this life is spiritual. This is a spiritual battle. That's what this is. And a lot of people think that, the physical is separate from the spiritual. No, here they're united. They're bonded here. And my personal belief is, and I can back this up, I'm pretty sure, is that in the end of all of this, it will be another reunification of matter and spirit, and I think I'm certain that all of the evidence points to that. Our loves, our relationships, the things that we cherish here, and I don't mean things like cars and jewelry and stuff like that. I'm talking about the relationships in our lives, the loves that we have. Those are meant to continue, just as they are here. I can hear a lot of people, oh no. If you don't want that, then as Jesus said in the New Testament, you don't have to worry about it. You won't get it. If that's not your hope, he's not going to force it on you. I'll treat that mystery later. Okay. Thanks, everybody. God bless you. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution, the restoration of the Constitutional Republic. May God help us. May God help Donald Trump. May God bless Donald Trump. Let me see who this is. I'm not sure, so I won't answer it right now. I don't want to get off the track here. Thank you for everything that you've done to be here today. Don't stop the good things that you're doing. It's easy to get disillusioned and troubled, but and the scriptures do say that the beast will make war with the saints and prevail. But that's only in one aspect. He still loses in the end. So always remember that. Thanks again, everybody. Till next time, out here.